Welcome to the Create a Life You Love podcast, the go-to podcast for people who are called to make a positive impact through the power of coaching. You'll hear encouraging stories from coaches sharing their journeys and their lessons learned along the way, tips from top experts who help coaches thrive in their life and their business, and so much more. So if you're ready to create a business and a life of impact that you love, let's get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of the Create a Life You Love podcast. I am one of your hosts, Chantal Cox. I am an author, a speaker, a transformation neurocoach, and a certified life purpose coach.
And I'm Guin White, a certified human design specialist and coach.
Together, Guin and I are on a mission to dramatically transform and create community in the coaching industry. We're doing that by supporting you in saying no to complicated cookie cutter strategies that just lead to overwhelm and burnout, and instead saying yes to simplification with a focus on alignment, service, and impact.
Yes, and with our combined experience and areas of expertise, we're here to help you create aligned momentum in your business and your life. And before we get started today, let's send a little love out to our amazing sponsor, the Create a Life You Love membership, an active community of passionate, purpose-driven coaches who are up-leveling in the most powerful ways to increase their knowledge, momentum, and impact in the world. For more information and to apply, check out Create a Life You Love membership.com, Create a Life You Love coaching.com/membership today.
Absolutely. Any links that we mentioned today will be in the show notes. So do not stress. You can always go back and click and get where you need to be, because I know our guest is going to have a lot of things that you're going to want to check out. And so let's dive in. We're super excited to be here today with childless, not by choice, embodiment teacher and coach, SarahJane Smith. SarahJane is an embodiment teacher and coach who helps fellow childless, not by choice women reestablish trust and connection with themselves and their bodies so they can be open to the possibilities of life. So welcome, SarahJane. We're super excited to have you. How are you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm feeling good today.
Wonderful. I've been checking out your website, which I find to be so beautiful. And I'm really curious to find out about one of the mini courses that you offer called Reclaim. But before we get into that, please tell us a little bit about your path to becoming a teacher and coach in the arena that you are. We'd love to get to know what led you to this path, what got you started on your journey to creating a life that you love.
Yeah, so my journey started with my own experience of being a childless, not by choice woman, and being a longtime yoga teacher and student, having this experience once sort of the acute grief started to settle, realizing that I had kind of become stuck in this place of disconnection with my body, which is a very natural experience and a natural way that the nervous system helps us deal with traumatic experiences. It's sort of like this disconnect that happens. But it was a very long period. My journey to being childless, not by choice, was about 10 years. And so I felt like my body had got stuck in that place of disassociation. And so using my knowledge as a movement teacher, a yoga teacher, I started to explore what would it be like to heal my relationship with my body using the tools that I already had.
Beautiful. I definitely can relate to a disconnection with my body, and I'm not childless, not by choice. I'm actually childless by choice, but I think mine, my disassociation just simply came from sort of that childhood trauma pattern repeating for so long. And I love that you use, or you've been a yoga teacher. Yoga is something that's near to, and dear to me as well, and has really gotten me back into my own embodiment. I do a lot of closed eye yoga, something that was recommended to me. Beautiful. Yeah.
I love it. I definitely want to dig deeper into the word embodiment, but if you are comfortable, or share whatever you're comfortable with, a little bit about your journey of childless not by choice, because like Guin shared with her, like, I also am childless, and at one point in my 30s, early 30s, when I left my abusive marriage, it was not by choice. And then about, I don't know, around 37, I was kind of like looking around and being like, I think I'm all right. And so now I've leaned into the I'm child free. Look at all the amazing things I can do with my life. And so it is an intentional choice at this point, but that's not where my journey always was. So I was just curious about some of your journey.
Well, thank you both for sharing your personal experience with childlessness, child freeness. My journey includes multiple pregnancy losses, a long period of unexplained infertility, and then a chronic illness that led to a hysterectomy. And having the hysterectomy was that line in the sand where it became 100% that I will not have my own biological children. And it's interesting that you point out, Chantal, that at some point you made the switch from childless to child-free, and that is sort of an indication of truly embracing the life that you're living. And I've found that can be a common path, as you go down the path. Then folks at some point have some level of acceptance and opening up to the possibility of like, okay, well, my life doesn't look like I thought it would X number of years ago. However, this is where I am. This is what is available to me. What opportunities and possibilities are there given what's happening with me right now?
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing your journey. This, everything you've been through, I can't even imagine. But to be able to not only get through it, but get to a place where now you're helping others through it is just absolutely beautiful, SarahJane. So thank you. I would love to hear more about this, like, embodiment and the practices such as yoga or meditation, and how they are embedded in your coaching practice. So how can they help childless not by choice individuals find healing and wholeness?
So embodiment simply means coming home to your body, which sounds simple, it's short, but as we know, simple things aren't always easy. And depending on your history, the body may never have felt like a place that was home or safe. And I think it's an important place to start with any kind of healing work, because your body is how you interact with the world around you, how you experience life. All your senses, come from your body. So we start right at the very beginning with starting a practice of feeling your seat and feeling your feet. So if you could do that right now, if you're standing up, you can just feel your feet underneath you. And if you're sitting down, feel your seat and your feet. Yeah, you can close your eyes. It's a very natural response many people have. And it also helps to go inside more. We're a very visual culture. We're always taking in things through the eyes. So it helps to connect with other senses. So if you naturally close your eyes, then do that. Others don't feel comfortable closing their eyes. So you can keep your eyes open and just take a few deep breaths. And see if you can notice what is going on in your body. Can you feel your breath move your body? Are you able to connect with the solidity of the ground, either beneath your feet and your seat, or both? And then take a deep breath into your nose and a long breath out of your mouth. If you had your eyes closed, just let them open and just take a couple seconds to look around a little bit, orient to the room. And if either of you want to share, what was that experience like?
That was incredibly grounding. Yeah, I tend to be one of those individuals who ungrounds quite easily, living off in my head under pressure, running too fast. And so little mini breaks like this, doing that one short little practice, that short little exercise is really like, that helps so much. I forget that I have hands, you know? So yeah, that was beautiful.
Absolutely. Grounding is a great word, Gwen, so I'm going to use that as well. But yeah, it helped because we are doing a day of batching interviews. And so that was really nice to just kind of take a minute and be present in this opportunity to connect with you. So I feel like we might need to start doing some of this either between the interviews or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you both for sharing. I realize I turned the interview around on you both there. But so this is how I start all of my coaching sessions. So you asked, why is it important and how does it help heal? Well, you both experienced why it's important, and helping heal. So just touching in on that. Oh yeah, I have hands. Oh yeah, I can feel my feet on the ground, and the ground isn't moving. It's something that over time we can come to learn and trust in. And then over time, we might get to that place of feeling like the body is somewhere that we can come home to. And if we've had a lot of trauma in the body, that can take a long time. That's why we go slowly. And it's a lived experience that we touch in on over and over and over.
Beautiful. We had a guest on recently, another beautiful woman from Canada, who talked about going slowly. So yeah, I love that we are, weaving that go slow thread into this episode as well. Shifting just a bit back to childless, not by choice, I would love to hear if you know of any common misconceptions about being childless, not by choice. How do you work to dispel those through your coaching, through what you're doing in the world?
Yeah, a lot of women have shame around not being able to have the children that they wanted. They feel there's a lack of purpose and a lack of meaning in life without children, and those are internalized beliefs from the culture and societal norms at large. We're a culture that really celebrates motherhood, and also we hear lots of messaging around things such as you'll never know true love unless you have a child, things like that, which are not true. So those are a few, and those are big. When you internalize those beliefs, and so you're in your life feeling shameful, disconnected, like you don't have an opportunity for this great love that you wanted. You don't have an opportunity to expand your family as you wanted. You'll never make your parents grandparents, and you won't have all of those milestones that you thought you might have. It's very unstabilizing. It's an identity crisis. So working with unpacking some of those internalized beliefs is a great place to start. And so throughout the work we do together, when we come up against those issues in the different projects or action steps people are taking, I'm going to slowly unpack them along the way. Does that answer your question?
Definitely. It's really interesting as someone who works primarily through the human design system. Conditioning is something that we address very early on. And, there's an entire process around deconditioning and a real focus on that. And so, yeah, I love the idea and how you worded it, how you articulate unpacking all of those misconceptions and all of those conditioned responses that we have to being a mother, a parent, and how that process of either accepting, releasing, healing, whatever that process looks like of deconditioning, so that someone can then live, a fulfilled life, childless, not by choice.
Yeah, we don't often see, thriving, happy, successful, childless or child-free women portrayed in the media or in, advertisements when you go to the bank. If you look at the people on the posters or in magazines or even spoken about. So the idea that you can be thriving and happy, purposeful, meaningful, have a life full of love, it's not hard to see why we don't necessarily believe that, because we don't see it.
You're right. Absolutely right. Yeah, there's always this idea of what's wrong with her.
I totally agree. And I had to work through like so much conditioning, as I'm sure both of you have and other people listening, whether it's about being a mother or any of the other many things that we're so conditioned over. And so I've got a certification in neuro coaching. And so I love the brain. And we talk a lot in multiple episodes over the years of the RAS, the reticular activating system. And so it's kind of funny because I feel like, I didn't ever used to see like women portrayed. And now I do. I see it more. Like it must be becoming more of the norm. But then my knowledge of how the brain works is like, is it, or are you just allowing yourself to see it now? Now you're kind of looking for it because we have to find those kind of like confirmation biases. So if I'm thinking like it's not matching the conditioning, so of course I'm not seeing it in the media, versus like now I'm okay with it and look, so is everybody else. Like, but yeah, so it's really funny how our perceptions in our brains just completely provide us different experiences for the same thing. So a core value of mine, the business as a whole, Guin's, is community. And you stress how having a community component is so important in coaching. And so we'd love to have you share about, why is that and what are some of the benefits that you see?
Well, this kind of ties in perfectly with what you were just talking about, and seeing your experience reflected in others confirms that maybe these ideas, these conditioned ideas that we have, are not necessarily true, and they're not necessarily the norm. And hearing from me, one person as the coach, is very valuable, but hearing from a number of people expressing the same kind of feelings from different experiences in different ways, in different language, and people who come from diverse cultural backgrounds, religious experiences, it gives the value of the program. It just exponentially grows the value of the program, and the way that people have access to each other. A common thing that I hear from childless women is that they don't feel that they can speak to maybe their closest friends and family and receive the kind of support and understanding that they're looking for. They feel quite misunderstood. And so having access to a community of women who have similar yet unique experiences allows them to speak, be seen, and be heard in a way that perhaps they haven't had the opportunity to be heard and seen before.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think community can be such a healing part of our journey. And I think we all feel like we have to bear the burden alone so much of the time, or, we are, we need a therapist or a counselor to help us through something. And of course, those tools are good tools, counseling, therapy. But I think community can be so healing when you find people who are dealing with a similar or the same thing as you. There's nothing like that connection that's made within a community of people who are having the same experience. So I love that you are leveraging that for your clients, for yourself. Speaking of, how can friends or family members best support loved ones who are childless, not by choice? What advice would you give to those who are struggling to find kind of the right thing to do or say?
That's a really great question. Thanks for asking. The most important thing, I think, is to listen. Be a compassionate listener first. Many of us, when we see friends and loved ones struggling, we really want to help them find the solution or get to the other side, get through the messiness of the feelings. And inadvertently, we don't listen and we go right for solutions. And the true power is being heard and then asking the people what they need, as opposed to coming in from the outside and giving your suggestions as an outsider, not having that experience, sort of putting it onto that person, what you think they should do or what you think they should need or how you think they should act. You need to take the lead from the person who is experiencing all of these difficult emotions and listen and ask them what they need, what would be helpful for them.
That's great advice. And again, very simple, oftentimes not easy. I tend to be one of those people who wants to fix. What can I do to fix it? So asking, just being present, listening.
And that's not easy too. It's not easy as the person experiencing it to ask for that, especially if you have had an experience with that person that hasn't happened in the past, and that isn't generally the way that person responds. So also being realistic too about if you have experienced somebody else's capacity as quite low in the past to like hearing you, seeing you, believing you, maybe they're not the right person either. So having that discernment around who might be the right person or people to share this with.
Yeah, I love that as well. Discernment is such an important, personal relating kind of feeling. And so many of us, because we are moving so quickly and we're so used to going with our first instinct, oftentimes we don't stop and think or feel into a situation. And maybe you're right, we may not be the best support at that moment.
Yeah, I love that. The discernment on both sides. Like if you're the supporter, understanding like maybe I have my own healing to do in this area, and so I'm not the right person to support you. But also being the person needing support, like knowing or discerning, I guess, who to trust your story with. Because that's hard, and there are platforms now like podcasts, like to just get on and share with the world your story and your healing journey. Like kind of where are you at on your journey though? Like how raw is this? Are we, are we sharing a wound or a scar? Like has it had time to heal over and now you can help people with it? I'm really curious to know about like how do you see the culture conversation around childlessness evolving, and like what kinds of changes do you hope to see in the future?
Well, I see a lot more people willing to speak about it on platforms such as Instagram. There's a big childless and child-free community there, which has been there for a while, but I'd say now it's bigger than it has been before. So I really like that there's more access, through social media. It can be a very tricky place, as I'm sure you would both agree. It can be, it's a place that you can go to find belonging and find healing, but you also have to be really careful that you don't become like overly triggered and saturated. So it's a bit of a tricky place to navigate, but I do see a lot more support on social media that way. One thing that I have noticed from being in different groups, it's coming up to Mothering Sunday in the UK, and lots of people in these groups are posting about getting different businesses are sending them email opt-outs, around their Mother's Day promotions. So I see that as a heightened sort of cultural sensitivity around not just childlessness, but the many roles that women play in their lives. That just because you're a woman, it doesn't automatically mean that this kind of Mother's Day promotions are applicable to you. And so that's something new that I've seen in the past few years. And I'd like to see that kind of thing, that sort of widening of the scope of what a woman is, what our roles are, what we're able to do, what we're interested in, what helps us create meaning, what helps us thrive. I'd like to just see that continually open and open.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think, marketing is probably, there are a lot of opportunities, and there's so much cultural conditioning that comes through marketing. So why not start there? If not, on the individual level. But yes, when we talk about a cultural conversation, SarahJane, can you share some maybe final thoughts or advice for anyone listening who's struggling with childlessness, or who wants to be a better ally or advocate for those who are?
For somebody who is struggling with childlessness, I would say access free resources that are available on social media. If you can work through the potential triggering nature. My biggest tip for that, which I share with a lot of my clients, is to use the Google Chrome extension, the Facebook feed and Instagram feed eradicator. So you can go on these social media sites, you don't see any news feeds, so you don't inadvertently see something that you don't want to see, but you have access to all of your groups and all of your friends, but you have to physically type it in, like, I want to go to this group, or I want to look at this person's profile. So that's always my top tip with navigating social media. So if you have that in place and you have the capacity to interact with groups, particularly on Facebook, there's some very large childless not by choice groups, and they have different there's groups for people who have chronic illness and are childless, people who are Christian and childless. So the sort of it's not just, also recognizing that childlessness, or people who experience childlessness, are not a monolith. There's lots of different ways in and experiences within that.
Wonderful.
I love that. Can you say the name of the Chrome extension again? I want to make sure we get that in the show notes.
Exactly.
I think it's called the Facebook feed eradicator.
Awesome.
But I know that it also works for Instagram and LinkedIn and a few other media sites as well.
Very cool. Thank you.
Nice. I didn't even know such a thing existed. And I think for a lot of people, not just childless, not by choice, might want to take advantage of something like that. But yeah, that's a tremendous resource. We'll definitely be sharing that, along with, looking into Facebook groups that are really topically relevant to whomever. That's great.
Yeah, that's a great place to start.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you. Yeah. And if you have specific recommendations, by all means, let us know, and we'll certainly pass those along to our viewing audience, so that they have, your recommendations.
Well, I'm the admin of one of the groups, Childless by Circumstance, Not by Choice. And there's two other admins, moderators, and we take the job of moderating the group very seriously, in terms of, we have trigger warnings, content warnings, we have specific rules around what pictures can and can't be posted, links in comments only. So being very conscientious about minimizing triggering events.
Nice. Wonderful. Well, it has been so informative. I have learned so much, and so engaging. Wonderful getting to know you just a little bit and having you here as our guest, SarahJane. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, 100%. This has been an honor to have you on the podcast today, SarahJane. Thank you. I definitely I'm so excited for you to share about a free gift that you are gifting the podcast audience, the Reclaim Your Body, a Childless Woman's Guide to Reestablishing Trust and Connection with Yourself. So if you'll tell us about that, and then we will include the link for that in the notes, and also tell everybody where they can connect with you, and we'll get all those links as well.
So that is a guide that gives, I think it's 13 suggestions on ways that you can start right now reconnecting with yourself and with your body. And they're not 13 must-dos. It's a choose your own adventure. You read the list and you think, okay, that, number 5 is doable. And just like we practice the grounding exercise, feeling your seat and your feet, they're that entry level, that sort of doorway in. So it's not starting some big onerous routine that's going to take, hours out of your day and lots of learning. It's simple things that you're probably already doing, but bringing the intention into it that you are reconnecting with yourself and with your body is the place to start. The intention is more important than the individual activity.
So amazing. I'm looking forward to looking into that, and we'll definitely get that in the show notes. I'm just like overcome with gratitude today, Guin, like how amazing it is that we get to connect with all these people and hear all these tips. I'm like, we're going to be the most like evolved people ever one of these days. We're just like compiling all this amazingness. So also be sure to share, like, where do you hang out at on socials and stuff? Where would you recommend people connect with you at?
So Instagram is where I do most of my posting, but also you can connect with me through the free Facebook group, Childless by Circumstance, Not by Choice.
Perfect. Thank you so much again, SarahJane. We have been so thrilled to have you join us, and I know our listeners have been so inspired and informed by what you've shared. And speaking of listeners, we'd love to find out your takeaways today. We'd also love for you to please share this episode with someone or anyone you think would benefit. Also leaving a podcast review at ratethispodcast.com/CALYL for Create a Life You Love is always appreciated. You can quickly and easily leave a review from any device by grabbing, again, link in the show notes.
Absolutely. And if our approach is resonating with you and you would like to be part of the Create a Life You Love movement and help create community and dramatically transform the coaching industry, we are currently accepting applications for the Create a Life You Love membership. So just head to createalifeyoulovecoaching.com/membership. And again, we'll have all the links in the show notes. So just head over there and get your freebie, go connect with SarahJane, do all the things. Guin loves it when I say that. All the things.
All the things, exactly.
Thank you so much, SarahJane.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Create a Life You Love podcast. We would love to hear from you about your biggest takeaways. Share them with us on Facebook or Instagram at Create a Life You Love Coaching. If you loved this episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. If you are ready to build aligned and sustainable momentum without overwhelm and burnout, we invite you to apply for the Create a Life You Love membership on our website, createalifeyoulovecoaching.com/membership. That's it for now. Enjoy the journey.